I'm State Representative Bruce Ayers, and I want to thank you for tuning in to my legislative update. As a state representative, I realize how important it is to keep in touch with my constituents about the many issues and legislation we're debating on Beacon Hill. My office works in collaboration with the House of Representatives, the Massachusetts State Senate, and the Governor's Office. This legislative update helps me inform residents of topics being discussed and debated on Beacon Hill. The topic of today's show is geared towards my legislative district and issues related around the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And my guest today to help me with that topic is the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Tim Murray. The Lieutenant Governor works very closely with Governor Patrick on the many issues that implement budgetary issues and policy for the state of Massachusetts. Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for being on today's show.
It's good to be with you, Bruce.
You know, I thought we'd start off the show just talking a little bit about your background. You know, I know before you became Lieutenant Governor, you served on the Worcester City Council and were Mayor of the City of Worcester.
Right.
How did that help prepare you for Lieutenant Governor?
Well, I think it was enormously helpful. You know, I was Mayor of Worcester for 5 years, and prior to that, 4 years as a city councilor. And, you know, on a day-to-day basis in municipal government, you're interacting with your partners at the state level, with your partners at the federal level, to try to make sure that government's as responsive as it can be in providing the services that people rely on. And one of the reasons I ran for Lieutenant Governor back in 2006 was, you know, I didn't feel that the executive branch of state government was doing everything that it could to effectively partner with cities and towns. And I'm proud of the fact that our administration has really given local officials unprecedented access, has partnered with the legislature on a whole bunch of different things, the two municipal partnership acts, which, you know, provided more tools in the toolbox for cities and towns in terms of managing their budgets, local aid, infrastructure investment. So, if anything, my time as Lieutenant Governor has reaffirmed that local government is the level of government that delivers services on a day-to-day basis that most people rely on, more so than state or federal government. So it's really in all of our interest to make local government as effective as possible.
You know, it's great that you have that insight. You know, being a city councilor, you realized what issues were important to your district or your ward. As mayor, you saw how it affected the entire city, and now as lieutenant governor, the entire state. So it must have been a great foundation for you.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the other element, you know, as mayor, like I believe here in Quincy, I chaired the school committee. So you're also working closely on the school side on, you know, making sure that we're, you know, supporting teachers, having high expectations and high standards for kids, you know, working on building new facilities, and Quincy is a community that's done that because we want to make sure they have state-of-the-art facilities for kids and teachers to learn in and compete. So you learn that whole piece of it too. And education, as you know, and we've worked with you and the legislature on additional funding on the achievement gap legislation to make sure that, you know, we're doing everything we can to get good results for our kids.
Well, it's great. It's very effective. You know, I thought I'd start off talking a little bit about the Seaport Advisory Council. I realize as Lieutenant Governor, you are chairman of the Seaport Advisory Council, and this council provides important economic development opportunities for the seaport areas throughout the Commonwealth and the South Shore. Could you talk a little bit about some of the projects and initiatives your office is working on?
Yeah. Well, the Seaport Advisory Council was started under then Governor Weld and Lieutenant Governor Cellucci, working with the legislature. And I think, you know, in a bipartisan credit, recognize that we talk about transportation infrastructure today. You know, oftentimes people think of road, you know, rail, bridges, airports, but our maritime infrastructure gets forgotten. Maybe not in Quincy, but, you know, we've got over almost 2,800 miles of coastline in Massachusetts, and, you know, whether you're from Worcester, or, you know, where I'm from, or Pittsfield, you know, the ocean and our maritime assets are a big part of our economy in Massachusetts. It's our history. It's how, you know, we became a state and a country. And so the Seaport Council invests anywhere between 8 to a high point, I think, of years before we came in, of $15 to $20 million annually in port infrastructure. And when it was created, it was primarily focused on deep water ports of Fall River, New Bedford, Boston, Gloucester, and Salem. But as it's evolved, we've worked in Quincy and some of the smaller port communities to invest in infrastructure. It could be dredging, could be pier rehabilitation, moorings. It could be bulkhead, all the things. Seawalls has become an issue as well.
Sure.
To try to make sure that maritime infrastructure is functional. And in Quincy, we've worked on some projects, and Quantum Point is one of them.
Yeah, it's so important, like you say, for a lot of reasons. And in my district, the Quantum Point Park has so much potential with the pier that's currently there in the parking lot with 1,100 spaces.
Yeah.
You could see where it would help with our tourism, with our travel in that area for areas of Boston, the South Shore, and beyond. So it's something I know that we'll be working on in the future through various target grants and what have you.
Well, I'm excited about that opportunity, and thanks to the support of the legislature and Governor Patrick's focus on investing in transportation infrastructure, we've been able to, even through this economically challenging period, stabilize and increase some of the funding for the Seaport Council. And we've worked at Quantum Point Park to kind of stabilize the pier and some of the infrastructure issues so that it's functional. But now we've got a whole plan about designing and upgrading it so that we can have what you described, those connections via water. And I think that is going to become more and more important. We're not going to be the Southeast Expressway. It's not like you can add another lane or build another one. And so we, especially in the more densely populated areas, we've got to use our water transportation. It's an asset. And so more commuter boats. And hopefully next year, as we talk about transportation and funding transportation, that we can incorporate a more robust water transportation plan for communities like Quincy, 8th largest city in the Commonwealth. We want to give people options.
It's great. Talking with my constituents, they're very enthusiastic about the opportunity, the potential to park their car out at Quantum Point Park, to hop on the ferry. Students could go to UMass, people could go to the JFK Library, downtown Boston. The business owners on Marina Bay and the boardwalk there, they're very excited because they know the potential of increased business with the ferry service. So I give a plug out to PJ Foley, who's a big advocate and helped file the Tiger Grant. So that's something we'll all be working on in the future.
He's like a dog on the bone. He's good, but it's, I think, that type of community vision and city vision that and having all the stakeholders, the legislative delegation, mayor, Congressman Delahunt. I know Congressman Keating's on it now, but because the linkages, it's on a day-to-day basis, people going back and forth from the city for work. But as you mentioned, linking up some of the travel and tourism assets, Quincy, City of Presidents, JFK Library, Freedom Trail, being able to make those easier for people. You bring more people from across the country, across the globe to the area spending money, and that's jobs.
Absolutely. You recently launched the MBTA Security Awareness Campaign, known as See Something, Say Something. And I know the campaign was recently funded by $1 million grant from the Department of Homeland Security. Could you talk a little about the campaign that urges the public to take a more active role to keep the city and the transit system a safer place?
Yeah. Well, I think our MBTA transit police do a great job. They cover a lot of ground. When you think of, I think, 170 communities in some shape, manner, or form served by the MBTA. So they do a great job, but they can't be on every train, they can't be on every bus, they can't be on every trolley, and so it's really citizens who utilize the transit system every day can be eyes and ears, and the idea of see something, say something is if people see activity that clearly is not appropriate, antisocial, violent, we want them to contact, use the phone, report it. And we think with some announcements will be coming out soon, as everyone got technology these days on their fingertips with phones and things, we're going to be announcing some new uses of how people can be proactive in reporting incidents and using kind of various technology. So it's about people being proactive and helping the transit police and us and local officials, local police, make sure that we're addressing these things when they come up.
That's great. People helping people.
Yep.
I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about the Gateway Cities education agenda. I know you and Governor Patrick recently announced $10 million in funding for the Gateway Cities education agenda. And recently you came to Quincy High School to promote and highlight the importance of the educational funding. Could you talk a little bit about the goals of the agenda?
Yeah, well, first, let me say the visit to Quincy High School, beautiful school, and really a credit to the taxpayers of Quincy, and the Commonwealth through the school building assistance program. A great facility. You can see the teachers are energized by it. The kids appreciate it. I think those science projects actually there were that day.
Yes, that's right.
Unbelievable stuff that the kids are doing. But the Gateway Cities piece is, I mentioned Quincy, 8th largest city. Our Gateway Cities, we've identified 24 cities that really drive regional economies. And for the South Shore, Quincy is an anchor. And we want to make sure, as Gateway Cities, oftentimes they're the communities where immigrants and first-time, people who are new to the country come, and English might not be a primary language. So one of the components of the Gateway Cities program is aggressive intervention on English language learners, making sure those kids and parents are getting that support and learning English, because that's really the foundation for a successful academic career. It's about after-school programming and summer programming to reinforce that. So it's a targeted approach. We're working with the legislature through the budget process now to try to, those targeted grants, learning academies, and those types of things to try to bring some additional resources to make sure that those kids are doing well, because it's in our interest that they do.
Yeah, it's great because the city of Quincy and the town of Randolph, in both my legislative district, their school committee, the city councilors, they're engaged, whether it's the school building authority for extra funds for the track and field, or just some long and short-term goals. But like you say, to look at the Quincy High School now, it's such a great learning environment. Everybody's excited. It's